You're listening to She's the Business podcast, and today we're talking about how you can grow your visibility and establish your authority without using social media. Stay tuned, it's coming right up. Hi, I'm Jessica Osborne, your host, marketing strategist with over 25 years experience in growing businesses and brands, and I now help women, coaches and consultants who are ready to stop dabbling in their business and finally step into your zone of authority, establish your own space in the market and become the sought after expert with a waitlist. I started this podcast to bring to you proven strategies, mindset shifts, health, wealth, wellness, and spirituality advice from both myself and other female business owners and experts from all around the world. Call this your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration made by women for women just like you. So introducing my guest today is the lovely KJ Blattenbauer. She's a powerhouse publicist who turns overlooked experts into headline news using earned media, i.e. the type of media that you don't pay to be featured in, but you get featured in because you have something interesting, something relevant, something important to share or a story to tell. KJ has nearly 30 years of experience in this space. She's really your go-to pro when you're ready to stop being ignored and start owning the spotlight. She's known for her bold yet approachable style and delivers clear, actionable strategies that have been featured everywhere, from Forbes to the Architectural Digest. She's also the author of the DIY PR book, How to Be a Media Darling, and the new book she's published this year called Pitch Worthy, which is a modern guide to building lasting visibility and authority. You're going to love the really direct, practical advice and tips that KJ shares with us in this episode. I certainly took a lot of notes. I know that you will too. So without further ado, let me play the interview for you. All right. So hello, I'm here in the studio with KJ Blattenbauer. She's the founder of Hearsay PR. Hello, KJ. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I am really keen to get into this conversation today. Really talking about how you can turn expertise into authority. That is something very dear to my heart. And you take it from that angle of, really building authority and press from that. So how you become known for what it is that you do. Before we get into this, because I'm sure everybody's like, tell me more. We want to hear about your particular take on that framework. But can you tell us just a bit more about what you actually do in your business? Who do you help and how did you get into this in the first place?
Sure. I have spent the last 28 years helping really cool people and bold brands get the attention that they deserve. I use earned media, so podcasts, news articles, features on your local news, features in your local newspaper, vehicles like that to help people tell their story. So people will buy their services, their products, visit their restaurants. I'm really big on you can't have anyone purchasing from your business or being a client or customer if they don't know about your business. And so instead of leaving public relations and promotion till the end, I like to tell people it needs to be top of funnel. One of the first things you do when you're starting a business, a side hustle, whatever it is, you have to let people know about it. And I think there's a lot of struggle with visibility. And so I've made it my mission to use public relations to help the cool people and bold brands get seen more often. I grew up in a very small town in the middle of the Midwest in the United States. And I learned firsthand that everyone is famous in a small town, right? You're either leading the story that's being told about you or you're hearing the story that the town is telling about you. And so perception, I learned very on that perception shapes everything. And I've decided to use my talent brought to me by my youth to use that perception to help people chase their dreams, get their story out there, get people to notice what they're making and creating and doing and proud of.
So good. And I so agree. I think, now more than ever, social media, like it didn't exist when I first started, when I was working in marketing, my first marketing job back in the late 90s. And you would probably know as well, like in the early 2000s, it just didn't exists. Like Facebook appeared on the scene in 2007, and it was really a personal social media platform for still years to come. And so it hasn't really been around all that long. And that was, so when you think about it in terms of business, it was always about the earned media. It was always about PR and, getting yourself known in that way. And it just seems like now, because we're all online, we've got these tools at our fingertips, we have access to our social media on our phones. Like, yes, you can create a post. So it's become a lot easier to put stuff out there, but it's also become really noisy, right? Because there's so many people doing it. And so I love that this is about, let's take the focus off the social media for now and actually focus on the other types of media, because I think a lot of people forget that we have them in our toolkits. Like, they exist, you can pick them up and use them at any time. And maybe there's a bit more mystery around how, like, how do we actually do that? Even people who are in the know, the media kind of seems like, wow, there's like a giant chasm between me and where I am and how I would possibly get a story in the media. So that's where people like you come in, where you actually make that easy, and there's a step in the process. So yeah, tell us a bit more about, what would you love people to know about these opportunities, that they don't feel like they're so untouchable or, something that's not feasible for them?
Right. Well, I think the biggest misconception about public relations in general is what it is. People think you either have to be already famous or really, really into yourself. It's all about self-promotion. It's all about ego. But in reality, public relation is about translation. It's taking what you already do, what you already know, and you're framing it in a way that the media or partners or your customers can instantly recognize your value. If you wait till you feel ready or you have more followers, you're already too late to the game. PR works before you scale. When you start your business, before you launch the product, it helps bring attention to what you're doing before you're doing it. It will move the needle after, but it's best used before. And I think people see social media like, oh, it's so easy. I can just post and post and post, and something's going to go viral and things will take off. What they don't realize is that public relations is using other people's borrowed lanes, like me appearing on your podcast or me being in a local news article or me being on television. Those are already established platforms with reputations for being great ways to learn or be introduced to something else. And it's 100% free. All it takes is my time and my expertise to show up to someone else's audience, and I have my audience brought to their platform, which benefits who's ever hosting me. But also I get to leverage their audience for whatever I want to promote, whether it's my expertise or a book I have coming out or my products or services. I think entrepreneurs, I think founders, we all underestimate the power of free earned media. And I think that's why PR gets kind of neglected. It's not as flashy as, I can go viral so quickly.
Well, you can, but there's a lot of people trying and they're not, because you can't, it's so funny when we think about that. I remember the old bosses would say to me, we want to go viral. I'm like, you don't just decide that you're going viral and create something. It happens, and you never know when it's going to happen. So it's not something you can plan for. But, to go back to your point, when you don't have an audience, the best way to grow that audience is using one that already exists. And, like you said, coming onto a podcast, going onto a news platform, there are existing audiences there that you're now able to tap into. What do you think founders or people need to do, like, say, before they decide to pitch for a guest spot or pitch a journalist? I know from back in the days when I did a lot of media through my work, journalists get so many pitches that you really do have to have something that's going to A, get their attention, but B, be what they're looking for too. So I think there's a whole thing we can talk about there. But to begin with, what do you need to do before you're going to start that pitch so that you aren't wasting your time and you're actually going to have a great pitch that people want to take up?
Well, I think first you need to be very clear in your messaging. If you can't explain in a sentence or less what it is that you do, and other people, especially your target audience or your customer, gets it instantly what you do and what they can buy from you and how you can help them, you've lost everyone. So you have to get very, very clear on what your message is. I think that's key. Once you know what your message is, then it's figuring out, okay, here's my message. Why does it matter to this news station and their audience? And why does it matter right now, this point in time? If you can answer those 3 things in 2 or 3 sentences, that is literally all you need to pitch. You don't need to send paragraphs. You don't need to send a novel. Don't need to overthink it. It's who you are and what you do, why it matters to the audience you're reaching out for in that platform, and why it matters right now, this point in time.
Yes, love that. Why it matters to them, because it may be something that's interesting to you, or that you think you're like, I want to get this out. That's great. But no one else cares really what you want, right? It's like we all care what we want, what we're interested in. So what's in it for them? So important. And yeah, you mentioned the now. Like, talk a little bit more about that, the time factor. Like, what would make something a great story, or how important is the now factor? I'm just trying to think of a better word for it. I'm like, no, the now factor, that will do. How important is that, and how do you kind of build that around what it is that you're trying to get out?
It's probably the most important factor, right? It's timely, and it's like, oh, this is why people should care right this second. And it's things as simple as holidays, Mother's Day, summer and barbecue, the end of the year and Christmas and gifting. When the new year starts, the new year, the new you, and all the resolutions, transitions, changes people go through. Those sorts of things are your important point in time entry. If something happens, like heaven forbid a tragedy happens, but then there's the stories of the heroes and the helpers and how your product can help make people's lives better. If there's an epidemic where people are getting sick and you know how to help them quicker, or stories of heroes and nurses and things of that nature. Weather is always a thing, right? A point in time. Someone's having a tornado, someone's having a whatever. Here's how you fireproof this. It's what you see on the news. It's what you read all the time. In a business, from a business standpoint, it's, okay, is this system crashing? How do we do this? There's burnout here. People aren't hiring. It's those point in time things. If you can insert your product, service, or area of expertise into what's already going around in the world around you, that's your point of entry to getting coverage and being an expert and showcasing your expertise or service to people.
Yes. So would you be saying that this is something you can put forward as a pitch to create a story, or like, would you need to have a story that you want to tell, or are you looking for opportunities where journalists are sort of seeking experts to comment on certain things that are happening?
Well, I'm going to do both, right? So reactively, I'm going to have my story down pat if journalists are looking for someone who wants to talk about public relations or visibility or growing your business or female founders. I'm always going to be ready to tell those stories. But at the same time, if it's the beginning of a quarter or the beginning of the new year or the beginning of the school year, that's usually when female founders lock in, right? Kids are going back to school, or they have new goals for the year, or schedules are changing, and they want to start something different in their business. Then I'm going to proactively outreach with, okay, here's how you get visible. Here's how you take those goals up a notch. Here's how you get those speaking opportunities. Here's how you get more eyeballs on your business. So I'm going to do a little bit of reactive and proactive, and I think everyone should be prepared to do both.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're putting forward, a bio to the media, what would be different from, say, your normal bio that you might use on your website for your audience? Are there anything that you would say you must have in it, or a way that you would frame it that might be different for media?
I think for me, a bio is definitely, it's going to be shorter for the media, right? They have less to do. They have less time to read, right? So I'd want it to be a media ready narrative, right? A bio is going to be about you. The media narrative version is going to be about why you matter, right? Like, here's who you are. Here's the problems you solve. Here's what you're credible to speak on. The media doesn't care about your origin story or where you went to college or any of those things unless it supports the exact relevance of why you're pitching them. They care about insight, they care about clarity, and they care about usefulness. So like on my website, my bio might be 50 to 100 words. When I send it to the media, it's probably going to be 25. It's going to be very, very short, very clear. My messaging is going to be very, very tight. Like, here's who I am, here's who I serve, here's how I help them, and here's why it's relevant right now to the story I'm pitching you. So they know what I'm talking about. You know that you're an expert.
That I love that. And I think, we forget often that journalists, they have so much coming in front of them all of the time. They're literally going through them so quickly. So if, I imagine you're sitting there and you get this long spiel, you're just like, oh, there's too much to look at. And if it's not jumping out at you right now, they probably bypass it. One of the things that we used to do, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, was we'd sort of write the story for them. And that being like knowing the time poor nature of their world. They've got deadlines to meet, they've got lots of stuff, and they're obviously sifting through all of these stories coming in to kind of find the right ones. We'd often send something in that was already written. What's your thought on doing that? How would you send an initial short pitch first saying this is what I can provide, and if they respond then send the story, or would you just send it up front? Or would you not do it at all?
It depends on my relationship with the journalist, right? If it's someone that I've worked with for years and years back and forth and I know how they operate, I might know that they just prefer the long story first. Like, I've already put this together for you. It's packaged, ready to go. I can have my guy to you in 5 minutes, or you can be here to film, that sort of thing. I might send the long one. For anybody else, original pitch, I'm going to do the short one. And in there, I'm going to say, I can have this literally created for you with images by a quick deadline for them. And then they know that it's coming. So then in the back, if they're interested, if they're on a really tight schedule, like that might be the thing that gets me the story. Oh, it's already prepared. She's already thought of images. She's got it all figured out. That might be this, it might put your story ahead of someone else's because you have it packaged and done. Then I'd send over the long one as a follow-up. I don't think it's one thing, your inbox is full, right? People are inundating you. We're all very busy. It's great because we have electronic communication. It's bad because everyone can communicate electronically. Think about being a journalist. You're getting hundreds of thousands, if not more, pitches all the time. People inundating you with information. Things are filling up. You have like 2 or 3 seconds to skim something. You're not going to read that long paragraph unless you already have an established relationship with the person you see as the sender. And so that's why I would initially just do the very short, skimmable, promise you have a full story later pitch out of the gate.
Yeah, I love that. Now, the next question that's probably on everybody's lips or minds is, well, how do you know who the journalists are or how to contact them? Because they usually don't have public profiles that, you can kind of reach out to them personally. What's the best way to go about that? And do you have any tips for people around how do you decide which media you should reach out to and try, rather than just sort of spamming everything that you can?
Right. Well, I'm of the belief that you need to know where your target customers are, right? Like, I recently had a book coming out, and I know that for female founders, they're busy. They don't have time to read magazines. They're probably not watching the evening news. They're busy working, multitasking or taking care of their families, or actually in their stores doing retail hours, but they do have time to listen to podcasts. They're multitasking. So knowing that my target audience isn't doing all the other media stuff, they're only doing podcasts, I would only be reaching out to podcasts to promote my book. And so I think you have to first get very clear, who is my target audience? What are they reading, watching, listening to? Then focus your efforts just on that. The second thing that I would do is, where do I find those people? Reverse engineer it. Google's our friend, right? Like the internet, you and I both started out in our careers before the internet, but now the internet's here and it's here to help us. And so I just Google public relations. And then on Google, where it's like all images, shopping, there's a news tab. If you click the news tab, it shows you exactly which outlets are writing about your industry, what they're writing about, the angle, that sort of thing. And you can click on there and you can also see who's writing about it. And usually, because people want to be accessible, if you do a little sleuthing, the email is going to be right there. It's going to be in the about section or the contact section of whatever outlet it is. Or you can go to their X profile, their Threads profile, their Instagram. Most journalists will have their email addresses in there because they need stories. Like the evening news is only as good as what can fill the evening news. They need the stories. The paper is only going to be as thick as the stories that they can put in. Magazines, they need ads, yes, but they also need people to feature and cover, or it's going to be a very slim issue. And so you can find all of those people by reverse engineering through Google.
Yes, love it. Great tips there. That was in rapid fire, so make sure that you've got that down. You can find the people, but I think the important point you made was make sure it's really relevant. It's relevant for you. It's relevant for your purpose. It's relevant for the audience and the story. I think sometimes, you see people with their media logos on their websites and like, oh, I've been featured on CNN or Fox or whatever. And there's these big brands. And so I think it can be easy to think, oh, I just need to go to these huge outlets and pitch my story. And when it's an outlet like that, there are hundreds of journalists that work for them. So which are the ones who are specific for you? Like you said, find out who's actually writing about your industry. It's not going to be the general post box at CNN. Is that, there's going to be a specific journalist that you would want to target, that you'd want to be reaching out to, who are going to be the ones who are interested in your story because that's what they're writing about. That's their area.
I also think that it matters, what's good for one person is not good for another person, right? Just because you're a founder or an entrepreneur or you're creating something, you're a business person, you don't have to be in Forbes. Not everyone's target customer is going to be in Forbes. It doesn't give you the instant effect that it used to, right? Like just because you have a retail product, you don't have to be on Oprah's favorite things. Your people might not be shopping Oprah's favorite things. And so those are all things that when I start working with someone, they're like, well, this is my goal. And I'm like, okay, you want to be on Oprah. Oprah hasn't had a show in over a decade. She has a list of products, but you don't make a product. So like, and it's trying to steer them away from, okay, well, this is what I'm told, or this is what I see other people have, so I think I need to have it, or like, this is my ego talking to do this. And it's really, you have to be honest about where your customers truly are. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, and you're going to burn yourself out trying to chase leads or sales or return on investment if you're not promoting yourself to the right people.
Now, what would you say to people? Because I think this would be a lot of women who are like, oh, I don't really have a story that's worthy, or I don't really have anything to tell. And they kind of think, not me, not yet, maybe one day. And they sort of see it as something that is for them and not me. What would you say, like, how do you help somebody to see what they do have that maybe would be media worthy? Even if they're thinking, well, I don't have anything to announce. There's nothing that's happening right now. And what I do, it doesn't really matter about the weather or the news or things that are going on. So they kind of are like, oh, I'm really stuck with the whole now factor. How do you help someone create a media worthy story and a reason to send a pitch?
Well, I think it's going back to the root of why they started what they do. We all founded a business. We started out, we didn't just wake up one day and like, you know what, I want to do the hardest thing possible. I want to become an entrepreneur. Like hardly anyone did that. I don't know, maybe a few people really are stubborn and wanted to do that. But for most of us, we saw something missing in the marketplace, or we saw an opportunity where we could make our profession better, or one of our loved ones needed something and we couldn't find the thing to help them. So we created the thing to help them. The why behind what you do is media gold. That is your story. It is the basis, and you should be promoting it every single place because one, people love the human aspect of things. They want to know the why. We're all very curious, but also that's your ticket to your target audience, your customers, everyone that's going to buy from you. Because there's a reason why I got into PR. No one was there to help me promote my business. And I want to help others promote their business, right? Like if your loved one needed a certain type of hospice care and you couldn't find it, so you created that hospice care, you need to share that story with other people so that they can get that hospice care they also need since you couldn't find it, If it's a tool, if it's a gadget, if it's a service, if it's a restaurant, all of those things have great, unique stories. So start with your story. That right there, media worthy. You just have to package it correctly. And then with the timing aspect of things, we all have 10 to 12 questions customers ask us all the time. That is your content. Those are your hooks. Find what those are, and then figure out a way to spin them to make them timely or relevant. Do your customers ask, how long does this take? Or what do I need to do? Or, I have people ask me all the time, okay, I have no time. PR is expensive, but I know people need to see me, but I don't want to be seen. Okay, well, you don't want to be seen. So right there for me, it's a pitch on why don't people want to be seen? The psychology of not wanting to be seen. That's a great story, especially if you're started a new year and resolutions, like people want to show up more, right? So there's my timely entry. Why people don't want to be seen as everyone's gearing up to show more, right? Or if it's the end of a business quarter, return on investment when you don't have a budget. PR is free. So Here's a way for you to get all the publicity you need for free without spending any money. It ties into end of quarter, people not having budgets, that sort of thing. And I think it's little twists like that you might not think of day to day in your business. But if you look at your original story for why you created what it is you do, what you produce, what you offer, and then you look at the 10 to 12 questions that people are asking you all the time, you truly do not need to create any more content or go down the AI research rabbit hole and make more work and overwhelm yourself. It's those things you should be answering and promoting, because that's what's going to bring your target customer to you. If you make it simple and they can understand it, and you tell them exactly what they need to hear, that is going to be gold for you.
Yeah, I think we often overcomplicate it, don't we? Like you're saying, it's like, it's actually already there. You have it already. It's your story. It's why you started. It's the questions that people ask you, maybe even the things that you think are so obvious. Like, well, of course, this is what we do, or let's talk about why people don't want to be visible. You might think that it's not worthy, but the interesting thing is there's a reason why people are asking those questions or seeking that help, and they may also then relate to your story of why you started, because they've got a similar problem, they've got a similar challenge. So I think I always put my hand up and say I'm definitely someone that overcomplicates stuff. I overthink it, think through, and I have learned that about myself over time. I'm like, I've got to really just pull back and just talk about the simple things, because that is what people actually relate to and want to hear about, especially because you may not think it's all that special. Maybe you've solved it already or figured it out, but there's someone out there who hasn't. Such a good tip there, reminder, that you don't, maybe you're thinking you're not media worthy, you don't have something to tell, but everybody does. And it may be something that you don't even think is that exciting because you've done it already, but you can turn it into excitement when you talk about it. Like, what do you love talking about? Someone asks you a question, you're just like, oh, I'm going to, talk too much about this because I've got so much to say. Well, there you go. That's something you can talk about.
Exactly. And I think all too often people get in their heads, like we overthink it and we're like, oh gosh, I'm going to go on and on. Cringy, so worried about what other people think. But you have to take a step back, because your cringiest moment, something where you're just like, oh, I hate my voice, or I don't like how I looked, or I can't believe I said that. It might be the moment that the light bulb goes on for someone else. It might be the moment where you've just solved their problem that they haven't been able to solve before. You might be giving them the solution that they really needed, but you also might be inspiring someone to finally do the thing that they've been wanting to do. And so I feel like if we reframe it that way, who cares if you go out there and you embarrass yourself? At least you tried, and you're not going to go out there and embarrass yourself. You know how to think and talk and act about your business, or you wouldn't be in business. You're just getting out there to talk about what you're passionate about with people who are also passionate about what you do.
It's like, we don't need to worry so much about ourselves, because we're embarrassed. You're embarrassed for a moment. It's just you that's embarrassed. Like, no one else is thinking that. No one else is feeling it. They've probably forgotten about it already, whatever it was that happened. And more than likely, they didn't see it the same way you did. They're not sitting there, critiquing how you look and how you sound. I think we're all our own biggest critics. That was definitely a major hurdle for me. I had to get over. Even starting this podcast, I remember my first, the lives, I remember doing lives before starting a podcast, and I couldn't watch them or listen to them. I was like, can't listen to my voice. It's just terrible. I'll let other people listen to it, and I never would listen. And then, you just after time, you're like, well, I don't think other people really care, or it doesn't matter to them. What matters is what's being said. Like, are they actually gaining something? And then you kind of get over it. You get over that. Yep. Get over yourself after a while. You learn, like, hey, guess what? It doesn't matter to other people. So You're the only one who cares.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Now, you did mention that you had a framework that you use for creating a pitch. Is that something that you wanted to share today a little bit about?
Sure. Yeah. The framework is really simple. You introduce yourself and why you're an expert in like one sentence. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's who I help. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to give them the hook, the interesting thing. Like, here's the fact you have to have, this is why your people care, and here's why they care really now. And then the follow-up is going to be even more simple. It's going to be, you've introduced yourself and why you're an expert. You've given the hook of like, here's why it matters to your audience. Here's why it matters now. And then it's the happy to come on camera, have visuals for you, can provide information, that sort of thing to show like, hey, I'm ready to go. You don't even have to wait on me. I'm a professional. Contact information and you're done. It is truly that simple to send your first book. You don't have to overthink it. It doesn't have to be paragraphs, just a couple sentences, shoot it off. Once it goes out the door, you might not hear anything because again, people are busy. I have the best intentions of returning every email I receive, and I will still go into my inbox later tonight and be like, oh my gosh, it's been 5 days and I haven't responded to that thing I thought I responded to. Journalists have even more emails than me. They're very busy. So if you haven't heard in 5 or 7 days, I forward on that exact same initial email. And where it says FW in the subject line, I change it to follow up. And then I write a 1-sentence, hello, Sam, Jack, Pat, whatever their name is, following up because I wanted to make sure. And then I add one more sentence or fact to lure them in about, hey, here's why this matters. Here's what I want to talk about, that sort of thing. I'd really like to connect with you about that. Let's talk. And then you have that 1 sentence to lure them in and check in. You have the original email underneath, so they have the relevancy, and they have another proof point down there. Send that one off. If you still haven't heard something after that, 5 to 7 days, no, it's radical. You can pick up the phone if you have their phone number and follow up and say, hey, just wanted to follow up, see if this is of interest to you. You can call an actual newsroom of a television station. You will get a live person and you can say, hey, if someone who's interested in this, we have the visuals, send a camera team out. Or if you don't want to pick up the phone, you can still go back, do the forward thing again for a third time on that same email. Make sure you don't do FW follow-up. Change it to whatever you want. Do another sentence, be like, wanted to check in one last time. Here's why I think this is relevant right now to your audience. Let's get this on your schedule. Send it. If you haven't heard anything after that third one, it's either not the right time, they're either not interested and can't be bothered to respond to you, which I think is very rare, or you don't have the right person. And if you don't have the right person, 9 times out of 10, they're going to respond and be like, I can't cover this, but here's this. Or this isn't the right angle. Then you try something new. Everything is data. It's an experiment. So it's not a rejection, hate you. It's not all about you. It's not personal. And I think that's what a lot of people internalize when they pitch. No, it needs to be the right angle at the right time. And there has to be space for that journalist to be covering what you're pitching on. So if you send it 3 times, you haven't heard anything, wait a week or 2, take a beat, and then go at it from a different angle. You know, another question, another approach, another fact, something different, and see where that gets you. Because the truth of the matter is you don't have to pitch thousands of news outlets a week, a month, or even a year. Find 5, find 10, find the ones that your people really are paying attention to, reach out to them. And that's what you should be mining. That's how you should be building your authority. Because once you get 1, it's going to turn into 2. And then kind of like a snowball rolling downhill, your visibility is going to grow. Your authority is going to grow. And pretty soon people are going to be reaching out to you, but you're also going to have formed relationships with these journalists. They're going to know you. The email come through and be like, oh, yep, she's our expert. We need to have her on to talk about this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so good. And it is one of those things, it's like the patience, you know, you said it's not going to happen straight away, but it will grow a lot faster than probably what you think it is, especially when you're, you know, like starting like that. Once they get to know your name and they see it in the inbox, they're going to look at your email, you know, they'll see it out of all of the other unknowns and they'll probably pick your ones out. So it's that type of thing that I think it definitely increases and explodes over time. But like you say, we don't try the first one and then give up because that one didn't work. I think that's so important that we remain emotionally detached, I think, from these and treat everything like an experiment. You know, like you said, it's like, well, that's data. You know, they didn't like that point or they didn't like the way you framed it. Try it from a different angle. And then, you know, they'll definitely respond with some feedback at some point. And yeah, I love it. It's so good. You can go, well, that's okay. It didn't work. Doesn't matter. Try again. Try someone new. You know, think about it a different way. That's really great. And, when you say it like that, it does just seem so simple. Why aren't more people doing this? And really taking that approach. I think there's, when you're not used to the media, it can just feel like it's this whole world that's quite scary. But it doesn't need to be. They're just people. They're humans like you and I trying to do a job. And they want good stories for their audience. That's really what they care about.
And they need stories, right? You don't have media if they don't have the stories. But just because they aren't responding to your email, they could be busy. It could not be the right angle, but just keep trying. There's a reason why when you have an email service provider, it now offers you A and B testing when you're sending out an email, because you want to see which one works best. And you have to treat pitching like that too. Okay, this one didn't work. Maybe this one will work. Okay, that one didn't work. Maybe this will work. Maybe I should try another person. It's just, like a challenge, an adventure, a puzzle, but it's free. It's not costing you anything to be reaching out to these people except a little bit of your time. And I think we all can find 5-10 minutes to stop doom scrolling. Or for me, before I hit the couch with wine to watch reality TV, I could be doing a little bit of pitching for my business.
Yeah. Or maybe you could send it while you're watching with the wine glass in your hand.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what would you say would be the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when they decide, okay, I'm going to start doing some media. I want to get my story out there. Do you have 3 big, please do not do these as stuff to avoid?
Yep. Well, I think the first one is they wait too long. And we talked about it. They think they have to be famous. They have to be 6 or 7 figures. Their business has to be so many years in business, that sort of thing. No, PR is top of funnel. It is a driver for eyeballs to your business, but it's also a driver to revenue. If you need funding for your app, if you need customers in your restaurant, they cannot find you if they do not know about you. So the second you incorporate your business and start worrying about brand colors and your logo, you should be thinking about, how am I going to be promoting this? What free channels through PR can I be using? That's mistake number 1, waiting too long. You got to start right away. The second thing I would say is they don't have their house in order. The worst thing that you can do is get press, start promoting yourself. And then when people go to your website, or they go to your LinkedIn, or they go to your social media like Instagram, it says something completely different, or it's unprofessional, or it's July, but you have links to Christmas sales. So getting your house in order is prime. Not having your house in order is second biggest mistake, right? You should take 1 hour this week and go through everywhere, your website, your social media, any third-party site where you appear, and make sure your bio is all the same. The one sentence about your business is all the same. The imagery all matches. The links are all working and going to the right places. And then set yourself a reminder once a quarter to always keep that updated, because the quickest way to erode trust and make yourself look very unprofessional is when someone Googles you and it's a hot mess. So those are so those are 2 things. I think the third thing is thinking they have to pitch anyone and everyone and burning themselves out. Like, you don't just lob a bunch of stuff out there, like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks. Find 5 places that your target audience is reading, watching, listening to, or that will benefit your business, truly benefit your business. Find them and make it your goal in the next 6 months to pitch those 5. Start there. And I think you'll see a world of difference.
I so wholeheartedly agree, especially the last one. As someone who has a podcast and I receive a lot of pitches for people to come on as guests, it's really obvious that some people haven't even taken 1 minute to research the podcast. They have just found an email of a podcast host and they're sending a pitch to me. And that is like, I delete them. I often don't even bother replying. I'm like, if you can't even be bothered to research the podcast for 1 minute, I cannot be bothered replying to you. Like, this is a podcast for women, by women. It says that at the start of every episode. The name of the podcast has a giant clue in it. And they will pitch me men. And I'm like, guys, seriously, like, it's not a secret. It's not hidden. It's very, very clear. And you're just showing me that you've done 0, and you're probably just doing a copy paste of the pitch that you sent to 100 other people. So like, that's the fastest way to end up in the trash. Like, you will just be like instant delete. Like, you haven't bothered, then I don't bother. So like you say, it's not about sending 100 out, because if you're doing that, then likely you haven't done the research. You haven't actually made a good quality call on, is this relevant? Am I relevant to this podcast? Am I relevant to the audience? And am I going to be meeting their needs of what they're after? If you haven't done that, there's no point doing the pitch. That you're better off picking 5, like you said, pick 5. Actually make sure these are really good fit. This is relevant. You've listened to, if it's a podcast, go and listen to an episode. Please don't pitch before you've listened. Like, that's just, it's loony, because you don't know if you're going to be a good fit for it unless you've listened, and, you can gauge the vibe and see, like, okay, are we going to have a good time on this conversation? And if it's not a good fit for you, don't pitch for that one. It's really, I don't think this is rocket science, but it's amazing how many people think it's just about getting themselves out there no matter what, everywhere. And, it doesn't end well. So podcast hosts get a lot.
It wastes your time as a podcast host, which you'll remember that, and you won't want to go out of your way to help this person, even if the paths cross and like you could down the line, right? But at the same time, it also wastes their time. So if you're a man pitching a female-focused, female-run, by females, for female podcast, why are you wasting your time even pitching that? Even if it's a copy, paste, and ascending, what is your goal there? Because your offering probably does not speak to who you're pitching. So you've wasted your time and energy. And if you're using one of those services that charges you by the send, one of your good sends, right, to send it to someone, and now you waste their time, it really doesn't make sense. And I think that's where like 2 seconds of research will go a long way. Like you said, it literally says she's the business in your podcast. Yeah. I'm sure it doesn't say he's the business. Like, it's not a typo.
Exactly. It is incredible. You get to the point where I'm thinking, well, obviously they don't know that, but I'm like, how is it not obvious? Come on, guys. That's so good. Thank you so much for joining today. I know that you mentioned that you have a book that you have written. Do you want to tell us a bit about that, and also where people can find it and connect with you? Because you've shared so much in such a short amount of time. I know that that's only scraping the surface of everything that you have to offer. All your wisdom. So let us know how we can find your book, a little bit about it, and where also we can connect with you.
Yep. My book is called Pitch Worthy, and it teaches you every single thing about public relations, what it is, how you can use it no matter what your industry, the free tools you can use to your advantage, what you do if you have negative press, what you do if you have great press. But it's also a pep talk for the days you don't want to show up or something gets hard. And it has the follow-up format down to, here's an exact pitch that you can copy and insert your information. Here's exactly how you follow up. Here's how you track it. All of that, and it's called Pitch Worthy. It's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. It also has a workbook section so you can read and go about working through things as you're learning to help benefit your business. You can find it on Amazon and wherever books are sold. And if you want to find me, my website is hearsaypr.com, or you can find me on Instagram at KJ Blattenbauer.
Amazing. Thank you. We will make sure that the link for the book is in the show notes, so you can just go and click through there and find that one. And you can find KJ as well. Her links are also in the show notes. But that has been just amazing. Thank you so much, KJ. It's been absolute pleasure having you on here today. Incredible tips, value. I hope everyone, you've been taking notes because there's a lot in this episode. Maybe you have to go back and listen again and catch all of the things that KJ shared with us. But thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.